In the heart of ancient Alexandria, at the edge of the Mediterranean Sea, stood a building that contained something no army could conquer and no empire could replicate. It was not a palace, it was not a temple, it was a library, but not just any library. It was the Great Library of Alexandria, and for nearly 1,000 years, it was the center of human knowledge itself. Imagine walking through its halls in the year 250 BC. Scrolls line the walls from floor to ceiling. Scholars from Greece, Egypt, Persia, and India gather in columned reading rooms, debating philosophy, mathematics, astronomy, medicine. The air smells of papyrus and ink. In one corner, someone is translating a text from Aramaic into Greek. In another, a mathematician is calculating the circumference of the Earth and getting it almost exactly right. This was not merely a place to store books. It was the world's first true research institution, a place where knowledge was not just preserved, but expanded, where scholars were paid to think, to question, to discover. The library was founded around 300 BC by Ptolemy I, one of Alexander the Great's generals, who claimed Egypt after Alexander's death. But it was his son, Ptolemy II, who transformed it into something extraordinary. He set an impossible goal: to collect every book ever written in every language civilization. Ships arriving at Alexandria's harbor were searched, not for weapons or contraband, but for books. If a scroll was found, it was seized, taken to the library, and copied by scribes. Sometimes the original was kept and the copy returned to the owner. The library's agents traveled across the known world, purchasing texts, commissioning translations, hunting rare manuscripts. At its height, the library may have contained between 400,000 and 700,000 scrolls. That represents tens of thousands of individual works, a collection that would not be matched again until the modern age. Within its walls were texts we will never recover, lost plays by Sophocles and Euripides, scientific treatises from Babylon, historical accounts from civilizations whose names we no longer remember. Here, Euclid wrote Elements, the foundation of geometry. Here, Eratosthenes calculated the size of the Earth using only shadows and mathematics. Here, Archimedes studied mechanics and invented machines of war and peace. Here, scholars debated whether the Earth orbited the Sun 17 centuries before Copernicus. The library was more than a repository. It was a statement of belief that knowledge transcends borders, that wisdom belongs to humanity, that the greatest treasure civilization can possess is not gold or land, but understanding. For centuries, it endured. Empires rose and fell around it. Egypt passed from Greek to Roman control. Christianity spread across the Mediterranean. Political power shifted, but the library remained, a constant light in a changing world. But light, extinguished, not easily recovered. The destruction of the Library of Alexandria is one of history's most enduring mysteries, because it did not happen at once. There was no single catastrophic fire, no one villain to blame. Instead, the library died slowly across centuries, victim to war, politics, religious conflict, and social neglect. Julius Caesar set fire to ships in Alexandria's harbor in 48 BC during a civil war. Flames spread to parts of the city, possibly including facilities connected to the library. How much was lost? We do not know. Ancient sources contradict each other. Centuries later, tension. 391 AD, the Christian Roman Emperor Theodosius ordered the destruction of pagan temples. The Serapeum, a temple that housed part of the library's collection, was destroyed by Christian mobs. Scrolls were burned. Scholars fled. By the time Arab forces conquered Alexandria in 641 AD, the Great Library of Alexandria may have already been a shadow of its former self. Some accounts claim the conquerors burned what remained, but historians debate whether there was anything left to burn. What is certain is this: By the early medieval period, the Library of Alexandria was gone. Not damaged, not diminished, gone. The single greatest collection of human knowledge assembled in the ancient world had been erased. With it went texts we will never read, scientific discoveries we must rediscover, history we will never know. We have fragments, references in other works, tantalizing mentions of books that no longer exist, but the works themselves are dust. The loss is almost incomprehensible. Imagine if every university library, every archive, every research institution in the modern world vanished overnight. That is what the ancient world experienced when Alexandria's library fell silent. Yet the tragedy is not just what was lost, but what it represents. The library was built on the idea that knowledge should be gathered, shared, and preserved for all humanity. Its destruction reminds us how fragile that ideal truly is, how easily centuries of accumulated wisdom can be undone by a single generation's violence or indifference. Today, we try to recreate what was lost. The Bibliotheca Alexandria, a modern library built near the site of the ancient one, opened in 2002. It is beautiful, vast, filled with millions of books, but it cannot restore what was taken from history. The Great Library of Alexandria stands as both an inspiration and a warning. It shows us what humanity can achieve when we prioritize knowledge above conquest. And it reminds us that the greatest catastrophes are not always battles lost or cities fallen. Sometimes they are the quiet moments when we let wisdom slip through our fingers, never to be recovered again. Somewhere beneath the streets of modern Alexandria, fragments may still rest, papyrus turned to dust, ink faded into nothing, the ghosts of lost knowledge waiting in the sand, and with them the haunting question: how much of our own knowledge are we failing to protect even now?